Whoa. Hello, everybody. We're here with the Third Eye Horizon Mystery School series, with the Merkaba Study Group. Welcome, everybody. We're here kicking off the study group. We're going to be reading out of the Mystical Qabalah by Dion Fortune. And I forgot to ask, but we got a few people here with us. Brittany, were you still interested in leading the Merkaba or the meditation, or are you going to be a little preoccupied?
I didn't actually prepare my material because I was kind of worried about this furnace thing going on right now, but yeah, maybe you should do a Merkaba activation.
Yeah, I think I'm going to wait and do like a special episode for that, but definitely stay tuned, people, because I've been a Merkaba practitioner for about 5 years and learned this ability to instruct really basic breathwork exercise, but it's very powerful. You activate this thing called the Merkaba, which this class is about. For those who don't know, we'll probably prepare some information that we can just direct you to a link eventually, but I'll say real quick here that the Merkaba is an extension of your soul's essence that is a vehicle in which it uses to travel through dimensions of consciousness as well as just dimensions in general. It's written about in the Bible. It's written about in many ancient texts that predate many major religions. And it's incredible to have this information coming back up to the surface after being dormant for many thousands of years. Some of the stuff we may learn in this class, though, is that there's been people practicing and learning Merkaba throughout the centuries very quietly. So we look forward to looking into that. But yeah, stay tuned. Possibly in the next few episodes here, I can either do a recorded or instruct some kind of breath work for those interested. Essentially, with this mystery school programming, that at least right now is at least one of what could be many initiations. Having a Merkaba breathwork take place can really change somebody's life. Very similar to having a Kundalini activation once to possibly turn down a more radical spiritual path after having an experience. So I'll just open up and say we're researching the Kabbalah for this class because a lot of roots of Merkaba heritage and study can be found traced all the way back into the studies of the Kabbalah. So though this book does not have any mention of Kabbalah, at least understanding the foundations in which Merkaba derives from, I feel, is pretty fundamental, as well as this book is pretty fundamental from the sounds of it for just paving the way for more occult knowledge, mystery school teachings to come. So I'll digress on my long-windedness right now, and we're here with Alex right now. What's up, Alex?
Hello.
Awesome light.
Pardon?
Do you have anything to say to our viewers?
Well, it's looking at the way old beliefs crisscross throughout history is a good way to see a lot of different shades of truth. And I feel like a lot about that goes into Merkaba practices is about trying to garner awareness of one's body past the physical limitations and seeing all the ways it's been done throughout time in history is a good way to kind of distill it all down to what you want to use in your own practice. And definitely some of the old mysteries held in the Kabbalah are a great way to start any kind of exploration.
Oh. And then we have Brittany here, even though she's not visually with us.
She's there in spirit.
Is she still here?
That's so weird because when you guys mentioned my name, the thing popped up. It's like, are you sure you don't want to be seen right now? That's really creepy.
That's odd. That's
universe talk. You could tease the viewers with just like a pop, show your face real quick.
Wait, can you see me?
No,
Okay, I see I'm real.
Secret revealed.
That's a Halloween surprise for you.
Okay, well, I think we're going to get started. We're going to kick it off. We read chapter 1 of this book last week, and we'll provide the PDF to which we're reading from. And there's also the recording from last week for those interested in watching that we'll provide to you on this link on YouTube. So without any further ado, would either of you two, maybe Alex or possibly Brittany, like to kick us off with chapter 2?
Well, I feel like, I mean, if Brittany might have to possibly go in a little bit, it'd be nice to get her in on a read if she could.
All right, I'll read first. Did we want to give a little bit of a review of what we did last week?
Sure, yeah. Do you think you've got a summed up or spiel in your head to say?
So basically we were just getting into why we are studying the Kabbalah, and I think we came to the conclusion that it is a good symbol to meditate on. And maybe I'm even getting into chapters 2 and 3, but to sum it all up, it's a good symbol or symbols to meditate on to gain knowledge on the path of self-discovery and also discovery of the Supreme Spirit, or some would call it God, or whatever your conception of is. Does anybody want to add anything?
I think one thing that was an important note as we came to the end of the chapter last week was this person's kind of talking about, as we go through this text, to be mindful that like there's a sharing that's being done to like further the knowledge, but there are like some parts of this that aren't talked about in this book just because they kind of believe that there should be like a guiding, like a mentor in process to some of these. But that everything that's talked about here, even if it's incomplete, is given an complete accuracy to their knowledge.
Okay.
Yep, it just was summing it up and kind of priming us essentially to be initiated in Kabbalah, is basically where it leaves us at. So
we should do our homework. So we should continue to study anything in this book that interests us, that resonates well with us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to start on chapter 2, and it is the choice of path. No student will ever make any progress in spiritual development who flits from system to system, first using some new thought affirmations, then some yoga breathing exercises and meditation postures, and following these by an attempt at the mystical methods of prayer. Each of these systems has its value. but that value can only be realized if the system is carried out in its entirety. They are the calisthenics of consciousness, and aim at gradually developing the powers of the mind. The value does not lie in the prescribed exercises as ends in themselves, but in powers that will be developed if they are persevered with. If we intend to take our occult studies seriously and make of them anything more than delusatory, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Delusatory.
What's that?
Yeah, it's a strange word.
Yeah. You know, when I read this, like when you were staying at my house, Nick, when I was trying to read this, so much more of it evaded me. And it's like half of these words I didn't know, but for some reason I know more of them now than I did know.
That's
Anyway.
good. You're ready for it now. You're doing awesome.
We must choose our system and carry it out faithfully until we arrive, if not at its ultimate goal, at any rate at definite practical results in a permanent enhancement of consciousness. After this has been achieved, we may, not without advantage, experiment with the methods that have been developed upon other paths, and build up an eclectic technique and philosophy therefrom. But the student who sets out to be an eclectic before he has made himself an expert will never be anything more than a dabbler. No. Pass?
A bunch of dabblers.
Don't be a dabbler.
So whoever has any practical experience of the different methods of spiritual development knows that the method must fit the temperament and that it must also be adapted to the grade of development of the student. Westerns especially, such as prefer the occult to the mystic path, often come seeking initiation at a stage of spiritual development which an Eastern guru would consider extremely immature. That's interesting. So any method that is to be available for a Western must have on its lower grades a technique which can be used as a stepping stone by these undeveloped students. That's interesting that they specify that. I guess we can talk about it. Well, I guess we can talk about it right now. It's yeah. I mean, I read this chapter earlier. It just makes it sound like Westerns are really thick spiritually, and as soon as the way that they approach mysticism and the occult is very technically, and even though we may be desiring the technical information, it urges for, I believe, a more ready spiritual development before studying, essentially.
I think a lot of it has to do with our learning system. Like, over here, when we're taught in class, everything is done with, like, proofs and, like, this is why it is. And the average American just thinks that they're intelligent. The average Easterner always knows that there's more to know, and their teachers teach in a completely different method. They don't explain a lot of what they do. It's just like, if it passes you by, then it was meant to pass you by. But if you're meant to learn that, if you're ready for it, then you'll cling to it. And just like we were speaking about with this book, like, it's not going to explain everything. Like, we're going to have to take that journey ourselves. You know, we're not just going to be force-fed information and lectured for hours on how to develop our intellect. We have to do it ourselves. And that's not traditional in our society here.
Nope. Absolutely. I mean, I'll say amongst us, you know, like, just from what I've seen, you know, I feel that we're coming to the table learning this technical information with already exploring more of a, you know, of the abstract spiritual, just intuition of like experiencing life. So I think my personal opinions, and certainly could be wrong, but I feel that we are in good positions to move forward on this. And yeah, I think it would be important, to understand that, this is connected to something really divine and spiritual. So going down information like this, it's not all just like read the instruction manual and you know how to do it, know what to expect. So anyways, says Westerns, especially such as preferred the occult to the mystic path, often come seeking intuition at the stage of development in which the Eastern guru would consider exceedingly immature. All right, that's about where we were at. Any method that is to be available for the Western must incorporate a technique which can be used as a stepping stone by these undeveloped students. To ask them to raise immediately to metaphysical heights is useless in the case of the great majority and prevents a start from being made. That's very insightful. Any thoughts on that before we continue?
We were just having a discussion earlier about different yoga studios in the area because I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to teach today. And there was, a little bit of back and forth, like I like this one, and we all have our likes and dislikes. But it was brought to my attention by a friend that they thought that one of the studios in the area was kind of like watering down the tradition, just by the choice of music that they play, or maybe they had lost the Sanskrit terms that they use for the poses, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just relating it to this part of the book because my response to that was it's making yoga accessible to everybody. And, I might never have found yoga as an outlet and as a path to follow if it wasn't about working out at first, and it wasn't something that I was used to begin with, like playing songs that were on the radio or, working on your abs rather than the spiritual aspect of it. So yeah, there's stepping stones in all paths, and sometimes it has to be hidden in that kind of form to attract a mind like mine, which was completely underdeveloped before I had followed that path.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I think you're right. People get into practices like yoga more for the physical and technical things that come with it, and might like go into teaching it and understanding it for that. And there's a far greater spiritual base that's very, very vast. Alex, would you like to take it from the top of page 10? Excuse me.
Sure. Starting with point 3?
Yes.
All right. For a system of spiritual development to be applicable in the West, it must fulfill certain well-defined requirements. To begin with, its elementary technique must be such that it is readily grasped by minds that have in them nothing of the mystic. Secondly, the forces it brings to bear to stimulate the development of the higher aspects of consciousness must be sufficiently powerful and concentrated to penetrate the relatively dense vehicles of the average Westerner, who makes nothing whatever of subtle vibrations. Thirdly, as few Europeans, following a racial dharma of material development, have either the opportunity or the inclination to lead the life of a recluse, the forces employed must be handled in such a way that they can be made available during the brief periods that the modern man or woman can, at the commencement of the path, snatch from their daily avocations to give to the pursuit. They must, that is to say, be handled by a technique which enables them to be readily concentrated and equally readily dispersed, because it is not possible to maintain these high psychic tensions while living the hard-driving life of a citizen of a European city. Experience provides...
Right there, man. I apologize for breaking the flow, but just wanted to, like that, what they just said is really profound, you know. People with that kind of stimulus have difficulty developing their intuitive senses, essentially. It says high psychic abilities. Comparing it to European cities, which, you know, America is also a Western, considered a Western society. I'll let you take it back. Unless you have comments.
The only comment that comes to mind is just, you know, certainly like particularly the line, must be sufficiently powerful and concentrated to penetrate the relatively dense vehicles of the average Westerner, who makes nothing whatever of subtle vibrations. And just like I remember coming back and my first time after like spending time like out in the woods and then back to the city is like how loud everything is.
Oh, exactly.
Constantly hear something. Like even in small cities, there's always just at least some kind of piece of machinery or a car or house noise or something. So of course you can't hear or feel the ones that are beyond this physical way when it's just constantly pounding on you.
I know. Wow. It's just so great to like read that and just reflect on that for a moment.
Right. Because it is not possible to maintain these high psychic tensions while living the hard-driving life of the citizen of a European city. Experience proves with unfailing regularity that the methods of psychic development which are effectual and satisfactory for the recluse produce neurotic conditions and breakdowns in the person who pursues them while compelled to endure the strain of modern life. Holy shit, while Lurch in the woods breaks in the concrete jungle.
That's we can all relate to various degrees.
Yeah. That gets you right in the feels.
Seriously.
Hit the nail on the head.
You know, I was in my car the other day when I was kind of going through this, like, mental battle in my mind. Like, I really need money. I should work today. Well, no, I shouldn't. And then something was telling me, you know, well, people usually work 40-hour work weeks, and I really had to fight myself to say, that isn't okay. You're not supposed to live like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a tribe down in it's the Kung, and it's cool. It's spelled with exclamation point at the end. No matter where it shows up in the sentence, it's always K-U-N-G exclamation point. They have they live in like a super like it's a savanna. It's like kind of like it's not good arable land, but they still only work like 20 hours a week with Stone Age tools to provide all the food they need. Yeah. And then they just hang out and make music and art and like just chill the rest of all of it. Like it doesn't take much to. The amount of labor we do is totally our own invention and not necessary. But anyhow, we'd like to take point number 4.
I can take it.
Okay. Thanks for reading, Alex.
Yeah.
So much the worse for modern life, some may say. and adduce this undeniable fact as an argument for modifying our Western ways of living. Far be it from me to maintain that our civilization is perfect, or that wisdom originated and will die with us. But it appears to me that if our karma, or destiny, has caused us to be incarnated in a body of a certain racial type and temperament, it may be concluded that that is the discipline and experience which the lords of karma consider we need in this incarnation, and that we shall not advance that cause of our evolution by avoiding or evading it. I have seen so many attempts at spiritual development that were simply evasions of life's problems, that I am suspicious of any system which involves a breach with the group soul of the race. Nor am I impressed by a dedication to the higher life which by peculiarities of clothing and bearing, and by the manner of cutting or omitting to cut the hair. True spirituality never advertises itself. I know, I was like, holy. I was just sitting in the restaurant and I had to put my book down and I'm like,
Fuck yeah, 0.4. That's good.
So good. Well, I was also thinking during number 4 that it was talking about the thing that we were born into, and I think it goes a little bit further than just like race, even as far as like social class and just the conditions we were born into, like the family we were born into being crucial to the path that we're supposed to follow here.
Yeah, and even to an extent, like whatever, like the religious connotations or spiritual connotations of the houses we were born into. Like it all interconnects with itself. It's the first language we got to know God through.
Yeah.
Well, are we on number 5?
We are.
All right. I'll take it. So I think I'm going to try and power through to 3 because there's only like 2 more pages. Radical Dharma of the West is the consequence of dense matter. If this were realized, it would explain many problems in the relationship of West and East. In order that we may conquer dense matter and develop a concrete mind, we are endowed by our radical heritage with a particular type of physical body and nervous system, just as other races such as Mongolian and Negroes are endowed with other types. It is injustice to apply to one type of psycho-physical makeup the developing methods adopted by another. They will either fail to produce adequate results or produce unforeseen or possibly undesirable results. This is not to condemn the Eastern method, nor decry the Western Constitution, which is as God made it, but to reaffirm the old adage that one man's meat is another man's poison. The Dharma of the West differs from that of the East. It is therefore desirable to try and implant Eastern ideals into Western, or is it therefore desirable? Withdrawal from the earthly plane is not his line of progression. The normal, healthy Westerner has no desire to escape from life. His urge is to conquer it and reduce it to order and harmony. It is only the pathological types who long to cease upon the midnight with no pain, to be free from the wheel of birth and death. The normal Western temperament demands life and more life. It is the... Oh, do you have
I could
comments?
hear you thinking really hard during that.
I just gotta say, like, I don't need to expound, but I just kind of disagree with this paragraph.
What part?
Yeah, it's very potent.
I feel like there's a lot of like I don't know, just where's that wording? Yeah, his urge is to conquer it and reduce it to order and harmony. That whenever I see like war-esque rhetoric, it just gives me the feeling that it's more coming from like a social conditioning of empire, which is true in Western culture over the last, few thousand years. Take it kind of for our temperament, when really I think it's really just a neuroses that's been passed from, parent culture to child culture for millennia. That I feel like that doesn't garner then a separation of following these Eastern paths of, the cease upon the midnight with no pain like that. I think that's fine for us to pursue. I think, trying to get past the wheel of birth and death and on into the ether, that's acceptable from anyone born on any place of the earth to any race. It's indicative of, I think, our collective consciousness as a species, not as a imagined border-wearing, debate team.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, definitely when you look at the world and you see the countries that are at war with each other, largely, I feel are mostly Western countries.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, like, who's really doing all the fighting right now?
I mean, Asia's done its fair amount of squabbling, but Europe has dominated the world unlike any other continent. I mean, Mongolia came close, but unlike any other.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like even a lot of the conflicts that the East has had has been from Western colonialism as well. Maybe not a lot, but it's fair share.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'll say real quick, I agree with you. Like, I don't think it's too disastrous to be trying to control or kind of bring harmony to the situation. If anything, I feel like the Western and the Eastern can be perceived as the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, and if there can be harmony found between the two, you'd find balance in the whole.
I guess though.
So when I was reading that, I kind of flinched at the word conquer as well, but the second part of that sentence, reducing it to order and harmony, like just brought to mind like the laws that govern this plane of existence, like the law of attraction and the law of correspondence, like the Hermetic principles, like rising above what we see in our everyday life and realizing that there's an underlying order and being able to take control of that. Conquer and control are not very good words, but being able to reduce the plane as a whole to order and harmony is what it's talking about. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to conquer other beings in my pursuit to find these things out, but it means that I have control over my own life and what I do here. At least that's just what it was like bringing to mind for me.
Sure.
And the second part, like, that actually touched me too. Ceasing upon the midnight with no pain, like, I'm totally there. Like, yeah, I'd love to live here and just be happy all the time. But at the same time, like, that blocks me from learning any lessons here. If it was just peaceful all the time, like, it seems like the darkest times for myself are the times when I grow the most and the times that I learn the most, because I'm forced to. And I'd like to learn to get to a point where I can just do that, and I don't need anything to kind of push me into that. But we're working on that,
Well, I think oh yeah, go ahead, Doc.
Oh no, I was just saying all things in time.
Yeah. I think I'll just say it all balance between the whole I think would be most ideal. So Westerners could use more Eastern, vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm on 8. If
You are.
yeah, I think yeah. Brittany, would you like to take it?
Go for
I
it.
think I digress. What's that? You want me to?
Alex? Yeah? Yeah?
Sure.
No.
It is the concentration of life force that the Western occultist seeks in his operations. He does not try to escape from matter into spirit, leaving an unconquered country behind him to get on as best as it may. The Godhead down into manhood and make divine law prevail even in the kingdom of the shades. This is the root motive for the acquisition of occult powers upon the right-hand path, and explains why initiates do not abandon all for the mystic divine union, a white magic. It is this white magic which consists in the application of occult powers to spiritual ends, by means of which a large proportion of the training and development of the Western aspirant is carried out. I have seen something of a good many different systems, and in my opinion, the person who tries to dispense with ceremonial is working at a great disadvantage. Development by meditation alone is a slow process in the West, because the mind stuff upon which it has to work and the mental atmosphere in which the work has to be done are very resistant. The only purely meditative school of Western yoga is that of the Quakers. That they would agree that their path is for the few. The Catholic Church combines mantra yoga with its bhakti yoga. You're going to say?
Yeah, think about the Quakers there.
Yeah.
They are pulled back from what would be considered modern societal norms.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they still existed.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like a blip in my history.
Yeah, they're not just in the textbook.
So yeah, I think that's one of the big problems too with yoga over here, is a lot of these teachers are trying to westernize an Eastern school of thought.
Mm-hmm. That is definitely a thing.
What did it mean by white magic? That like jumped out.
It's like witch magic, so like paganism.
Mm-hmm.
That's white magic.
Okay.
We were talking about it earlier, like using the knowledge that we have for good purposes.
Mm-hmm.
It says it right after in number 9.
Do we want to power through the last page here, and then we'll be starting the method of Qabalah.
Dun 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 dun. Yeah. I think there's 2 points left. There's that's one for each of you if you guys like.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take it. It is by means of formula that the occultist selects and concentrates the force he wishes to work with. These formula are based upon the Kabbalistic tree of life, and whatever system he may be working, whether he be assuming the god forms of Egypt or invoking the inspiration of Iacus. I don't know. Interesting word. I'm not sure who that is. With chant and dance, maybe we'll find out. He has the diagram of the tree at his back of his mind. It is in the symbol of the tree that Western initiates are drilled and and it supplies the essential ground plan of classification to which all other systems can be related. The ray upon which the Western aspiration or apparent works his method. Aspirant?
Aspirant.
Aspirant. Does anybody know what that means?
One
Somebody
who
is
aspires.
aspiring?
Yeah.
Sure, I hear it. Aspirant works his has manifested itself through many different cultures and developed a characteristic technique in each. The modern initiate works with a synthetic system, sometimes using an Egyptian, a Greek, and even Druid method from different methods of best suited for different purposes and conditions. In all cases, however, the operation he designs is strictly related to the path of the tree, of which he is master. If he processes the grade which comprehends the separi metsec, those falling around or along, check those words out. Yeah. He can work with the manifestation of the force of that aspect of Godhead, distinguished by the Kabbalistic by the name Tetragrammaton.
Tetragrammatron.
Elohim. In whatever system he may select, in the Egyptian system, it will be the Isis of nature. In the Greek, Aphrodite. In the Nordic, Freya. In the Druidic, Kindwin.
Caradwin.
Thank you, guys. In other words, he possesses the powers of the sphere of Venus in which traditional system he may be using. Having attained a grade in one system, he has access to the equivalent grades of all the other systems in his tradition. Do you want to take it, Brittany?
Okay. Number 11. But although he may use these other systems as occasion serves, experience proves that the Kabbalah supplies the best groundwork and the best system upon which to train a student before he begins to experiment with the pagan systems. The Kabbalah is essentially monotheistic. The potencies it classifies are always regarded as the messengers of God and not his fellow workers. This principle enforces the concept of a centralized government of the cosmos and of the grip of the divine law upon which the whole of manifestation, a very necessary principle with which to imbue any student of the arcane forces. It is the purity, sanity, and clarity of the Kabbalistic concepts, as resumed in the formula of the Tree of Life, which makes the glyph such an admirable one for the meditations that exalt consciousness and justify us in calling the Kabbalah the yoga of the West.
Wow.
All right.
That's rad.
Yeah, that's interesting, you know? So I think we're reading the right book from the sounds of it, you know, moving forward into our deeper studying. I think it's interesting, the principles, or this principle enforces the concept of a centralized government of the cosmos.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to word it.
So understanding that and moving forward, it's saying will help us understand other Western metaphysical study. Strange. Well, all right, exciting. We made it to chapter 3, which will be the method of Kabbalah. So I think we're going to start to get maybe a little bit more meaty into Kabbalic wisdom. Any comments real quick before we run on to the next chapter?
While I was reading this, I was kind of feeling like it was like, choose a path. Like, I don't know, I study so many different things. And then at the end of it, it was like, haha, you've already chose one.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
funny. I look for the Western different special sort of mystery and occultic sects that says that understanding one basically carries on in the next, and thereon and so forth. So, so it's sort of reassuring to feel, you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to be so overwhelmed by this other thing, and it's like, oh no, it's good. You'll be able to just ease right into it if you understand a part or one of the practices even. So.
That's not.
Fascinating.
Well, from my understanding, it's saying that they're all like aspects of consciousness, like every different circle is a different system, and I've seen it referenced in a lot of my tarot cards. Like the Thoth deck uses it, and a deck that I just got recently about dreams uses it. So tarot cards follow basically the same systems of, I think we could relate it to like archetypes almost, like outlets for consciousness. But there's something to learn from each one, and that's why they're to be meditated upon. And it gets deeper, like the more that you understand each one. Just like I see something new every time that I look at my tarot cards.
So that's interesting, and I believe this book says that it'll be touching on tarot cards somewhere in this book. All right.
Tarot cards try to touch on it.
Vice versa. So I think that the next chapter is only a few pages. Do we feel the energy to carry it on into the next chapter and kind of maybe close it with some?
I think I should air my house out more.
Yeah, Brittany. Just like drops.
Yeah. Whatever it takes to, you know, continue the whole living thing should probably be undertaken.
Yes.
But it's so cold.
Get a blanket.
He put a danger sign on my furnace. He said I'm not allowed to use it.
Kind of cute. Nice.
You're airing it out, right? You got a pretty... Okay, good. Viewers feel much safer now.
I'm not happy about it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so quick. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, to be entirely forthcoming, I've been up since a little bit in the early morning. And I think I've burned about the last of my fuel.
Okay, yeah, I was kind of feeling that the energy might be that, because we've had some good discussion, I feel.
Yeah.
I think even necessary for our viewers and ourselves.
Mm-hmm. It was nice to be able to explore commentary and just like kind of take it point by point whenever something came up, just like pick it apart and hold dialogue on it. It's a nice way to
yeah.
2 pages.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah, I know. That's sort of how we did the not Kabbalah, Merkaba Study Group back in Detroit, and we were researching the Life Volume 1, and it was similar.
Mhm.
Stop and reflect. As long as it's productive, and ultimately helpful for those of us,
Mhm.
participating. If we're like flying through it and it's like, oh, I don't understand, and then you get to the end, you're like, oh, I forgot what I didn't even get. So
Yeah.
Cool. Well, maybe let's start to wrap it up by just on sort of last week, Brittany, that message thread that you created at the end of last week. There was some good stuff on that. I started to go deep and was pretty blown away at some of the Merkaba mysticism, mystics, and some other just information surrounding that. I'm trying to look right now and find that thread because it was really good. Did either of you guys find anything interesting on your own in your own independent studies by chance?
Oh, sorry. I've got someone knocking on my.
So I've just been reading the Initiates of the Flame by Manly P. Hall, which I sent you some of the pictures out of because he talks a lot about symbolism and like why things are what they are now, such as the Holy Grail it's talking about, and the story of like the sword and the stone and how that's symbolic of the Holy Grail being spiritual communion, such as like drinking from the cup of life. And the sword and the stone was kind of like being initiated. Like when you were able to pull that sword from the stone, that means you were ready to move on, basically. So yeah, I've been going through that a little bit, but also studying some Ayurveda and feng shui.
What I thought was really interesting about the Manly P. Hall when you posted that is I started to research some just general Merkaba information, and a really long video of his came up called The Chariot of Righteousness, Merkaba.
I think I went to watch that, but I totally fell asleep.
Oh, it's a long one. It's really interesting and insightful, and it talks about Kabbalah, I believe. I just thought it was interesting finding that. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Man, I wish there was a way to show YouTube videos on Hangouts. I believe there's a way, but there's this 6-minute long video of this woman. She talks about, or the title of the video is called Kabbalah Secret Merkaba Mysticism in Ezekiel.
All of the things.
Yeah, it was really, it talked about the Merkaba mystics learning from Ezekiel's experience in the Bible of him being visited by some kind of like multi-wheeled device with eyeballs and flames. There was angels.
I remember that now.
Very, very Alex Gray sounding for its time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So they were fascinated in this, and a sect of studiers called the Merkaba mystics began to research in further of what that could be. And I found some like incredible information on that. I'll link this video in the description of this YouTube broadcast for viewers. And
Well, the group chat like disappears after we're done.
oh no, when I post it, it'll be on YouTube, and in the description of YouTube, I can leave the link for people.
Okay. You
So-
should post it in the group too.
Always like and subscribe. Yeah, for the people watching, this actually is not our main channel. There's Third Eye Horizon with a 3RD. This is a sort of sister channel that is allowing us to live broadcast. The other one will not at the current time. Still subscribe to this one though, and like the video.
Meow meow. That's so cute.
And I'll also leave in the description below the Facebook group to the where we can continue to have these conversations, anything interesting that we find about Merkaba, or any sort of mystery or occult or interesting spiritual insight, knowledge, whatever. You know, it's our group. We can have conversation. We can develop more shows, post shows and broadcasts, everything like that. But yeah, man, I was going down the rabbit hole last broadcast with the Ezekiel. Just everybody's watching, and you guys look up Ezekiel's experience and just what's come of that. I feel like it's like one of those like very missed things, you know, that we could have gained a lot from. So I'll digress on that.
You know, actually, somebody showed me that video, and I think it was like one of the first times that I was realizing like that there's other religions that are like exactly the same as my conception of spirituality. And it was really funny because this lady was a Jehovah's Witness, but she was so dead set on like, no, it's completely wrong, and you're not a spiritual person if you're not calling God Jehovah. And she pointed that out to me, actually, and she was like, your Bible, they're talking about spaceships. And I was like, holy crap, it is spaceships.
Yeah. Well, I will say, like, Ezekiel's vision, like, it depicted possibly some kind of spaceship. It sounds very similar to Merkaba. The Merkaba mystics were persecuted by the Jewish religion. Intense study in Ezekiel's vision, and they were trying to find out how to ascend to heaven using, you know, the Merkaba devices. And the Jews were pissed at the Merkaba mystics, upset that they would get to God before everyone else, is what some of the research was that I found. Which leads me to believe, like, why wouldn't you just roll with the Merkaba mystics and, like, get up there with them? You know, like, if everybody's trying to go to heaven, like, but instead they persecuted them, and then the study of Merkaba through the Merkaba mystics went underground for 1,000 years, is what it said. So,
I mean,
1,000 years of darkness ensued.
yeah, probably. Actually, yeah, I think it was. I don't know. It had to be sometime like early BC, and then it. Yeah, it definitely was. I think it might have predated the Dark Ages, but that couldn't have been much better.
well, they talk about a lot in, sorry if my heater's really loud, it's really cold in here. They talk about a lot in the initiates of the flame that none of this information was ever underground. It was only passed on from ear to mouth through certain people, and that's why they called them initiates of the flame, because they were the ones keeping the flame alive of like this secret knowledge. But there was a time when they would have been persecuted for it, and it's just now being acceptable to like pass this information on again, because I think at this point, like we can even look back to like 100 years ago when people were being killed because they had inventions that were like next level, because it was going to put the people in power at risk. And nowadays, I think even the people who are in power, so to say, are realizing that they're not going to be able to make it if they don't have these people that are here with these innovative ideas and that have the secret knowledge. Otherwise, they're screwed. And I don't know how to pronounce his name. Drunvalo
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek was talking about, you know, the persecution of people who were carrying this knowledge, and how the people in power thought that there was a war coming, like a cosmic war. And at first they were persecuting everybody for having the secret knowledge, but now they realize that they cannot possibly win the cosmic war without them. So if anything, they're trying to condition them and to bring them over to their side. And that's kind of the new war that's going on with the people here. It's not about just killing them off because you can't, because they'll be back, because we don't know about all of them, because a lot of them still are in hiding. But it is becoming acceptable to have this information. You know, we can post this webcast and we don't have to worry about somebody just showing up to our house.
Yeah, right.
You're
learning about Merkaba.
Yeah. We're entering into a new paradigm, and it helps us in that. I think that's the only reason why this book is even possible in these days and times, even if it is incomplete. It's a start. It's a great one.
Yeah, and Drunvalo Melchizedek is one of the leading modern researchers in Merkaba today. The Secrets of the Flower of Life book that we previously read for the study group was written by him, and perhaps in the future, the second volume of the Secrets of the Flower of Life, deep in Merkaba. There's so much Merkaba. It's awesome.
The book has already been published.
Yeah, it's been out for since 1995 or 8.
The second volume?
Or maybe early 2000s.
Okay.
Not super long, but so there's other people out there who currently are studying Merkaba, who've researched Merkaba, in this modern age. And I think this is an interesting class, sort of picking it up from the ancient roots to, if we continue to pursue down this path, seeing where the modern research is brought forth, as well as just researching Merkaba, seeing who they are and what they've done. I've loved, people who've already gone way deep, who are really using their Merkabas, who may not be as outspoken about it. Those people, they may be literally moving through dimensions. This kind of technology too, don't doubt that, if you want to say angels or other dimensional beings sort of watching and facilitating, not through necessarily talking, but this is a very potent, very fundamental spiritual technology even. And anybody who's researching and going down this path is certainly, I feel, communicating and on the radar of those beings. So take it in for a moment.
What's up?
Yeah, just it's like, oh man, those kids down there, they're getting into Merkaba. They're like actively trying to activate their Merkabas as well. Intentionally, consciously working on raising their consciousness and ascending multidimensionally. They're like, my theory would be we'd probably be a little bit more on the radar than others, So I'd just be curious, be observant to your environment and the world around you as we go further, as each individually into this study, without fear, don't fear the wrong beings are checking you out. Just know that, we're all very powerful beings ourselves, and this is very powerful, perhaps like light technology. It's literally called fucking light body. So I don't know.
He's a spiritual gangster.
Anyways, those are my thoughts. Not yours necessarily, but they resonate with you. All right. Well, love and light, you guys. Do we have some final comments to close this broadcast with?
I was just gonna say that I sent you guys my username and password, and I don't know, you can send it to the right people. There's a bunch of talks on that website that I don't want to mention because I don't want them to ban me, about the flower of life and about symbolism, and there's some really good stuff in there if you want to get lost in there for a little while. And you can also check out the stuff that I looked at recently, and there's also yoga classes on there, online, etc., etc. Good stuff. How do you say his name? Drunvalo
Melchizedek. Right.
That guy's on there. He has like 100 episodes of crap on there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, good stuff. And something that I believe it was him, was talking about was how our planets are, the 8 of them now, which it's weird that Pluto isn't a planet, but there has to be 8 of them, are related to the 8 notes in an octave, and we're not allowed to go to the next octave unless we're using our Merkaba vehicle.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So
what is the login to your Facebook? Or
I sent it through Facebook Messenger.
can impersonate you?
Go ahead.
No. What is it? We log into, what is it again?
It's on Facebook.
Okay. Is it in the message thread?
It's in your messages. I wouldn't put it public because then somebody could probably figure out my bank account password, but anyways.
Oh.
You can't
that's just for
see
me.
what I've spent my money on.
You can post it to the mystery school if you feel it's appropriate. Page.
Yeah, I can post the page itself, but not my password.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some good stuff on there. I'll even link one of his episodes particularly. So yeah, I would just say to the viewers, join us next week and get involved in the conversation. It's a great way to learn hands-on. Something that I was watching the other day, and the guy's name is Joe Dispenza, and he does a lot on neuroscience and how the brain interacts with the spirit, the body and the mind connection. He was saying that you could read something and memorize something, but there's 3 different brains that we use, and the first one is the one that memorizes things, and I don't exactly know the names of them. He knows them better. I wrote them down somewhere, but I don't remember them yet because I haven't used my second brain to experience it. And that's when it really starts to solidify in the brain. That's when you start building the neural pathways, which start to do things habitually. Like we talk about muscle memory, and that's also a thing that happens with habits. And then the third brain is the one that actually integrates it into your being, and it becomes a part of who you are. So sitting here and listening is one thing, and experiencing it is another thing, but starting to live this life, that's where the real magic starts to happen. So get involved, join us, say hi. You don't have to turn your camera on.
Absolutely. All right. Any final words, Sir Alex? Be seeing you this weekend.
It's going to be a good weekend. Before enlightenment, collect water, fetch wood. After enlightenment, collect water, fetch wood. Food is medicine, and I hope you sleep well tonight.
All right, you guys. So this has been about an hour-ish broadcast. I hope you stuck with us. We'll be back next week. Instead of Thursday, we're planning Sunday. Same time. We'll get started around 8, but join us around 7:30. Should be opening up the Hangout. And the links, the Third Eye Horizon Mystery School group, we can leave in the description, as well as a couple of YouTube videos and information that we talked about on the show. All right, so thanks again, everybody, for watching. Stay tuned for more Merkaba study groups and awesomeness to come. Peace.